Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to week 5. We're about a third of the way through the semester. So let's get started with our normal weekly walkthrough. So this week in ENC 2210, we are in, as I mentioned, week 5, and we are kind of continuing what we did last week in the letters and memos assignment, in the sense that we are still looking at business and professional writing, but we are taking a little bit of a switch from how we translate the traditional old school type communication in letters and memos that would have been printed and signed and sent versus electronic communications. So you do have a reading assignment, continuing from where you left off last week. And then you've got 2 assignments to complete this week: the professional e-communications discussion board and the sample emails and text draft. So just like last week's letters and memos assignment, and I went over this in great detail in last week's weekly walkthrough, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but remember that any of these assignments that has the word draft at the end of it, you will use the feedback that you get when you get a grade on it, and you will make revisions to it and include it at the end of the course in the final portfolio. So that's what's coming up this week. And then notice that the next 3 weeks, we are getting into technical writing. So that's where we are. Let's take a look at the module and the 2 assignments that you'll be doing this week. There we go. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and make these small so that I don't have to scroll. Okay, so as I mentioned, week 5, the learning materials are provided here. Of course, you have a link to our electronic textbook, and the reading assignment this week is 52 through 65. You've got an article from Indeed.com and an article from Grammarly on professional emails and texts. The rules are different when you're emailing a friend or texting a friend than they are when you're emailing or texting your boss, even though a lot of you probably have current jobs in which there really aren't that many distinctions. Maybe your boss texts everybody in a very loosey-goosey manner, for lack of a better term. And of course, you do want to adapt your communication to whatever workplace you're in. You want to match the set of communication, the style of communication that's used in those workplaces. But by and large, we want to make sure that when we are being communicative in a professional manner, that we are following the more professional rules and regulations. So we also, of course, have a couple videos to check out on professional email, professional text messaging, communications, and then it will be time, of course, to earn the points. So let's take a look at the discussion board first. The professional communications and e-form discussion board has a pretty clear prompt here. In this discussion post, it's time to let your classmates and instructor know your thoughts on the importance of being professional while communicating electronically. And there are some questions here to get you flowing. How much care do you find yourself taking with proper writing techniques when it comes to using text messages, email, or other electronic forms of communication? And you can be 100% honest about that. Maybe you don't take any care. So, and that's a legitimate answer. When is it important to kick up your professionalism in electronic communication? And when might it be okay to be less formal? Why do you think people find it difficult to stay professional when communicating electronically? And I too, sometimes I'll write an email and I'll realize I didn't put the person's name, I didn't sign it. I'm just as guilty sometimes. So why do you think it is harder to do it that way? And then, of course, this doesn't really apply to emails or text messages, but there are definitely a lot of places in electronic communication that we can post things anonymously. So how does anonymity affect professionalism? For example, when people are able to post anonymous comments online, there seems to be absolutely no professionalism involved. And feel free to share some examples. They're not hard to find. So write your post in essay form. You'll have an introduction, body paragraphs, and a conclusion. The rubric does always call for essay form and good details. So those are things that you want to pay attention to. You do not have to require to your classmates posts. However, if you do so each week, by the end of the term, or not really each week, but each time we have a discussion board, within a week of that, you can earn up to 25 extra credit points for the course. So anyway, that's your discussion board assignment. Let's go back to the module and look at the writing assignment. So last week you did printable communication. This week, you're going to be creating a portfolio of electronic communication. So same thing from last week. You're going to have a single Word document. So there's going to be a cover page. It's APA style. You're welcome to put a table of contents, but you don't have to. Each of the pieces in the portfolio should be on separate pages. And most of them, there's not much reason they would need to take up more than a single page, although you could conceivably have an email that was longer than that, I suppose. In addition to a screenshot of the samples, please write a paragraph or so explaining the context. So in most cases, I would prefer that you have a screenshot of an actual email or an actual text message. Now, if you just can't figure out how to get that to work, obviously you can type it out, but I want the screenshot and a discussion of it on each of for each of these items. For emails, you'll have at least 3 separate emails. One can be to me or another instructor, and you don't have to email me on the email. You can use the inbox. That's absolutely fine. One should be to a business or university asking for information. So you would also need to include details of how you found the appropriate email address. Think of how we worked on the claim letters for last week, where we were really trying to do a little background research to figure out who to address it to. And then the final one can be to anybody, but it needs to be written in a professional and formal manner, even if it's not someone that you would normally do that. So if you email a friend of yours and it sounds real hoity-toity, they might make fun of you, but you're doing it for an assignment. Feel free to say that you're doing it for an assignment as well. And then you need to have at least two text messages written in professional style. I can be one of the recipients, but you need to find somebody else for the other. Remember, my cell phone number is on the syllabus. You have the ability to text me. Please use some smarts in terms of what time of day you do that. And you can also, if you actually use these for real communication, if you get a response back, you can include that as well, both for the emails and for the texts. All right, your rubric is the same as usual, 25-point assignment rubric. You've seen this before. And then, like I said, you will have the ability not to resubmit this for a particular grade for this assignment, but this will revised become part of your final portfolio at the end of the term. As usual, I will encourage you, if you have any questions, make sure to reach out. And I will for sure see you next Monday if I do not talk to you in between times. So everybody have a great week, and I will see you next week.